It's one of the biggest remote Indigenous communities in the country, but the education outcomes on Palm Island are lagging. Around 9 out of 10 Year 7 students can't read or write at a minimum national standard, and less than 1 in 10 graduate from high school. But a foundation set up by the Olympic champion Cathy Freeman is working hard to close that gap. Each year it rewards students who are doing well at school with a trip to the Big Smoke. And as Lindy Kerrin reports, it's showing some positive results.
In the big city, visiting iconic landmarks, these students are on the trip of a lifetime. They're a long way from home on Palm Island, and they're in Sydney as part of the Horizons program run by the Cathy Freeman Foundation.
The name says it. It's broadening the horizons of these kids. It's showing them that there's a lot of opportunities, and what we're trying to do is by showing them these opportunities, that they start to think about, okay, what do I want to do after school and how do I need to get there?
These students from the Boorgaman Community School are getting a tour of the Sydney Opera House, one of the country's most recognised and celebrated buildings.
Have a look at the Opera House from the outside, just have a good look at it. And did you see that there's two halves, really, of the Opera House? And tell me what you think it looks like. When you looked at it for the first time, what do you think? Do you think it looks like sails, maybe? Who thinks it?
Many of these kids have never been so far away from home, but today they're excited. They're getting to meet some musicians from the Sydney Symphony Fellowship Ensemble.
We went in and got to see some musicians play their violins and some of the other instruments.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was amazing, the things that they can do with it. Something new. Don't have much musicians at home, but yeah, it's all right.
For Year 12 student Shamika Curley-Gaia, it's been an amazing experience.
It was all right, lovely. Actually, the Opera House is 40 years old.
From the Opera House to Redfern Oval to watch the Rabbitohs train, the students meet Reece Wesser. Originally from Rockhampton in central Queensland, the former NRL player shared his story about pursuing his football dreams.
But if you want to be successful, you have to have the courage to believe in yourself and your abilities to take yourself out of your community and reap those rewards.
To get on one of these trips, the students have to go to school 90% of the term, and they must have made significant improvements in literacy and numeracy. The incentive program makes kids work hard, and for their efforts, they're rewarded.
It's an eye-opener, and I think of the frog in the well story. And I suppose if you're stuck in the well all the time, that's what you're accustomed to, that's what you think your world is. What the Cathy Freeman Foundation have been able to do for these students is to get them out of that well, you know, to open their eyes up, bring them to a new place and say, well, this is what's on offer, if you want.
The Cathy Freeman Foundation was set up in 2007 to help bridge the gap in education between black and white Australians. Since it began working on Palm Island, there have been some big improvements.
For example, last year we saw a 27% increase in the number of students that achieved a 90% or better attendance rate. We saw an 88% increase in the number of preschool students and students from pre-prep through to Year 3 achieving key benchmarks in early childhood literacy. So yeah, there's some of the sort of really good stats and outcomes we've seen.
More and more students are continuing in the higher years of schooling. There are now 3 times as many students in years 9 to 12 as there were 2 years ago. Part of that is being attributed to the Cathy Freeman Foundation.
And I suppose while the hard work is put in by the administration team and the teaching team, the Cathy Freeman Foundation play a really cool role is where they can come in and reward kids for their great efforts. And I suppose it's nice to be recognised by friends, peers, family, but when you've got an Australian legend, a sporting icon patting you on the back, it means a lot to our students and it means a lot to our staff.
For some of these students, this trip to Sydney has inspired them to continue working hard to achieve their dreams. And it's opened their eyes to many possibilities.
My teacher taught, always say I always can be a teacher, but yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, I like it down here because you get more details and I got all that information. I can go back up there and show them what I did down here in Sydney. Yeah.
We've got to speak to a lot of people who have amazing stories, and a lot of those stories have been characterised by people that have doubted them and people that said, well, no, you can't do that, but they've sort of risen above all those challenges to be successful people. And I suppose it's hearing those stories, and it's learning what skills it takes to be a successful person, and seeing what's out there. And I suppose these kids have the world at their feet.